Welcome to The Warp. I'm Jack Rita, and in this video I'm going to be talking about hazards from Cosmic Encounter, but in particular I'm going to be talking about the permanent hazards that were in Cosmic Conflict and the semi-permanent hazards from Cosmic Odyssey, and how are they supposed to interact together along with the other hazard types. So as I mentioned, hazards were first introduced to Cosmic Encounter in Cosmic Conflict, the second expansion to Cosmic, and that hazard deck had two types of hazards in it. It had what were called temporary hazards, which were basically one shot. They would only affect the encounter in which they were drawn, and then they were discarded. And then your permanent hazards, which had a red bar along the bottom, and these stayed in play. Now, a number of the permanent hazards had instructions on the bottom for removing them. So the Entropy Beast, the Cosmic Guardian, and the Witness, they all have instructions under their effects that say when this card is drawn, discard the other two if they're in play. Then there was a fourth one here that doesn't have any such instructions. This one's going to stay in play and could be in play at the same time as another one of the permanent hazard cards. In Cosmic Odyssey, there are no permanent hazards, but there are a number of semi-permanent, and they have a yellow bar on the bottom, along with two others. So you still have the temporary ones, which are one-shots, and then you had a new type of hazard, which was called an alt hazard, and the way these worked was when they're drawn, the offense can choose to do the effect on the card, and if they do, they'll get some kind of benefit. And if they do choose that, then the other players may also get a secondary benefit that's kind of a mini version of this effect here. And this would then count as a successful encounter, and that would be it for that encounter. So you wouldn't go through the whole encountering another player if you choose to use the alt hazard effect. And there's a half a dozen of these in the game. But what the Odyssey rulebook does not explain is what happens when you have combined your reward decks and how does this interaction work. So that's what I'm going to really focus on here in this video. So the way the rules work on the semi-permanent ones is when one's in play, it stays in play until another one is drawn. So when the new one is drawn, the old one goes away, and then this one stays in play until you draw another semi-permanent hazard. Now, when you have a permanent hazard in play and you draw a semi-permanent, this semi-permanent one has no effect on this one. So they'll actually both be in play at the same time. And if you have, for instance, the Witness and you draw the Cosmic Guardian and it says get rid of the Witness, it will get rid of the Witness. But what it will also do is it will get rid of the semi-permanent one. So the way these are supposed to work is anytime you draw a card with a red banner or a yellow banner, a permanent or semi-permanent, the current semi-permanent one is discarded. So if this is in play and you draw this, it goes away. And if this is in play and you draw this, it goes away. That's how they're supposed to work. And I think that the reason that that's not really explained in the Cosmic Odyssey campaign guide, which talks about all the different variants, including hazards, it's already 20 pages long, so I think they were looking for ways to prevent it from getting even longer. And so explaining effects that were not even part of the expansion, I think we're probably at the top of the chopping block there. They probably could have squeezed it in there, but they also wanted to avoid confusion. If they're referencing permanent hazards and there aren't any in the hazard deck, you're always going to get some people who are thinking, oh, I think this is missing some cards, or what are they talking about there? And so I think they chose the path of least resistance there and just said, we're not going to refer to it. But people do have both expansions and they want to combine both decks. So it's good to know how that works, which was the whole point of this video. So that's really it. I wasn't going to go into a lot of explanation on the individual hazard effects. Those are online somewhere and you can read about them if you don't have them. But if you do have questions about hazards, about the interaction of the two combined hazard decks, be sure to let me know. Let me know what you think of Hazards overall. What do you think of the two different decks? Do you have one that you like better than another? I do love the original Hazard deck, but it did have a number of Hazards in it that there were several copies of it. So I like that the Odyssey Hazard deck has a lot more individuality. It allows for many more interesting effects. In a game with Hazards, you're not going to end up drawing very many of them over the course of that game, unless it's a really long game. Because again, the standard Hazard rule is that only when you draw a Destiny card with the Hazard warning do you bother going to the Hazard deck. That's the basic rule for Hazards, and that's less than 1/3 of the overall Destiny cards. So again, it doesn't come up that often. They do add in the variant rule, which is called procedural change, which was how I originally used to play Hazards, and that was you only drew from the Hazard deck when you are about to take your second encounter on your turn. And that's when you would draw it. You say, all right, yeah, I won my first encounter. I want to have a second one. I have to go to the Hazard deck. So here you had some choice over whether or not it was going to be drawn, but it was a little bit of a trade-off. So let me know what you think of that rule, and if you play it that way or some other way. I'd love to hear about that in the comments. And any other questions that you have about Hazards or anything Cosmic Encounter, let me know. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.